Hey, what's up, folks? It's Jesse with Keeping It Real Finance, the channel that always has your back and tells it like it is. Well, this video is going to be what is going on with Bitcoin. So what's going on in the current chart? What is going on in the rainbow chart? So I was out there combing Reddit this morning and somebody posted an updated image of the rainbow chart. And it got me thinking, I really should do another video on the rainbow chart for where we're at and where I think we could be headed from here. So in this video, I'm going to take a good look at the rainbow chart. We're going to talk about global market factors and what's been holding us back, as well as I'm going to give you a prediction on when I think this could turn around and what that may look like. So I think I'm starting to get a pretty good idea on this, a good barometer check. Honestly, I, up until now, have followed all kinds of chartists all over CT for all different charts, and pretty much every single one, including myself earlier, has been wrong. And so what I'm trying to focus on is exactly what is going on in the current market and what these new data points are telling us, and how we can kind of try to formulate a picture of where we go from here. Because it seems like everywhere you look, there's just nothing but negative economic news, right? So at some point we got to turn around, and hopefully this video can give you some hope for when that might be coming, all right? So if you enjoyed today's video, make sure to hit the like button. If this is your first time to the channel, make sure to subscribe. And if you click the bell, you'll be made aware whenever I post time-sensitive content just like this. And now, let's get it going. All right, so I was combing Reddit this morning like I normally do, and somebody had posted the image of the rainbow chart, which I've talked about numerous times on this channel. And where we're sitting at right now in the rainbow channel is basically between accumulate and buy, according to the color coding, right? So it got me thinking, what is going to happen next? It just seems like each time that everybody has thought this market would turn around, it hasn't. We thought we'd have a blow off top. We really haven't seemed to had that either. I have followed a lot of different chartists through CT, and pretty much just about every single person's predictions have come out wrong. Everybody has looked at the historical data, the historical patterns, what should happen, and it's just not happening. Okay. And, I've talked about it on this channel numerous times, but it's worth mentioning again. Why isn't it happening? So what's so different about this cycle from the previous two cycles? What changed, right? And, if you think about it, the overall market cap of the crypto space has gotten larger. It's been a lot more correlated with the stock market, with the S&P. That's kind of weighed into it. There's global factors that weigh in. They really are. All these supply chain problems, the pandemic, right? The pandemic really threw everything off. And I think that there's a tail following the pandemic, especially in terms of the supply chain, right? And the supply chain seemed like it was getting better. And then Russia started this war with Ukraine, and that has further disrupted the whole planet. The latest on that is now they're talking about Russia's blockade of the Black Sea is going to disrupt grain distribution throughout the planet, because Ukraine is supposedly one of the top 5 producers of grain around the world. So that could mean that, a famine could be coming. So even further disruption, right? So all of that has figured into this cycle. And I think all of those factors are very unique. In terms of adoption, right? Let's talk about like adoption of Bitcoin. How far has that come? Well, we now have an entire country, El Salvador, that's adopted it. I want to say there was a People's Republic in Africa. I think they're maybe the second one that adopted it. Bitcoin adoption overall is becoming more and more widespread. It's becoming a political issue. Various politicians are talking about it. I've also seen a lot of headlines recently with various governments around the world that are deciding not to tax it, or to look at it differently, because it is different, and this is one of the things that kills me here in the US. with the IRS, the way they view it as a security. And I really don't think that applies broadly across the board. So they really need to go back to the drawing board. But like with most things here in the US, they kind of retroactively will go back and look at it on the back end. So in the meantime, the IRS, is kind of like crippling what's going on here, where they want to charge you for swaps, like you're making gains or this and that. I mean, everybody's crypto account is like way down right now. So I don't think that's right. But we need people in power, kind of like Cynthia Loomis, to step up and hopefully get a bill that actually addresses the way cryptocurrency works and does it in a way that doesn't stifle the whole industry and make it stagnate here in the U.S. The U.S. really needs to step up here, and it hasn't happened yet, right? So with all of that going on, I think that's the reason why we did not have the market top. Now, I had done a video on this chart. I don't know how many weeks ago it was, but I made an observation that, you look at the arc of the rainbow here in this chart. And what stands out to me that's kind of obvious is at the beginning, we had this spike above the rainbow. And then right back here towards the tail end of this second cycle, we had this bottoming kind of spike right here. And then you look at this cycle so far, and we're sort of in the middle. And it seems like maybe the arc of the rainbow is not as great as the chart makes it out to be. And so there may need to be some adjustments here, I think, potentially in the rainbow chart to maybe adjust this. Now, obviously, it's probably a little too soon to tell, but it does seem like overall over time that this arc is getting less. Now, I've also talked about it before that the most important thing when it comes to Bitcoin is the baseline, right? That's the most important thing in the entire cryptocurrency market. And it's kind of funny. We do our weekly JASME calls, and some of the other guys debate with me on this. We kind of see this differently. And the way um, I view Bitcoin in particular is I think it dominates the whole market. And if you watch it in Coin Market Cap and you click the little box for Bitcoin in comparison to whatever coin you're looking at, you'll find they're very tightly correlated, especially if you zoom out. So over time, do we want projects to decouple from Bitcoin? Yes, absolutely. I mean, that almost just has to happen in order for this whole industry to move. It's really weird that everything just rides one coin and what that one coin is doing. But a lot of that has to do with Bitcoin pairs, etc. It would almost be like if you equated this to the stock market, if all of our pairs were with Amazon or Tesla, and then if Amazon or Tesla doesn't do well, then the whole market's down. And that's kind of what happens in the crypto market. So it's really kind of a weird concept, I think. So it can be a great thing when it's on fire, and it can just be like a terrible thing when it's bottoming out, which is what it's sort of been doing lately, right? So looking now at this rainbow chart, I really like this chart, and I've liked this chart for quite a long time. And big shout out to Holger; he's the guy who put it together. He's on CT if you want to follow him. Site here is blockchaincenter.net, where you can find this exact chart. But it's really cool and it's interactive, and you can kind of see. You can just move your cursor around, and it'll give you, um, it'll tell you where you're at in the color coding, as well as what the price would be if we hit that mark. So I find that really neat. Now, if you look back on the earlier cycles, so if we look back on this first cycle here, you can see that we basically sort of had almost like two peaks. We had a first one, and then we had a second one. And I know people will probably debate with me. If you look at the Glassnode data, I've seen numerous charts where everybody says there's three each cycle. Okay, fine. When you look at this, it kind of looks like there's just two. And the funny thing is, like I was saying earlier, I follow all those chartists, and I mean, some of those guys put in just hours and hours and hours of analyzing. And I think the what's coming out now is it's almost like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how far in depth you analyze this. You really just need to look at what's happening today, because these things in the past don't necessarily predict what the future will do. Okay. Now, when I talked about the global market forces, neither cycle before has dealt with any forces like this. And, I even had this conversation with my wife the other day where I was talking about how, think of the people that went through like the Great Depression. They probably thought that was like the end of the world, right? And then, things kind of rebound from there. And then all of a sudden, World War II shows up, and they probably thought it was the end of the world. And then things kind of rebound from there. And it seems like the world sort of goes through these cycles like that. And I feel like right now is just one of these times where the whole world just seems like it's in flux. Like nothing is settled, nothing is sure. Our costs for pretty much everything, at least here in the US, are just going up. Everywhere I look, everywhere, the cost is going up. And the wages are not going up. That's the big falsehood here that, oh, yeah, wages have increased. I've heard that on NPR a couple times. Yeah, wages have increased. No, they haven't. you know, wages have increased for, any low income earners, but anybody in the middle class, their wages are exactly the same. So all of our buying power is less. As time has been going on with this crazy inflation we're having, our gas prices are out of control right now. Our property taxes are through the roof. Our utility companies are wanting to raise the rates. The trucking industry in the US is saying that they're going to have to up all of their charges because diesel fuel is so expensive. I mean, it's kind of everywhere you look. There's just it feels like there's no end in sight. And so I was talking about it in the video I did yesterday of, what could be the turnaround? How do we turn this thing around? Because right when it seems like it just couldn't get possibly getting worse, that's probably right about the time that maybe something good will happen. And I think that's why I wanted to give in today's videos maybe a little bit of hope to anybody out there that's just sort of depressed with this market. Because I gotta say, following it day in, day out, it does get tiring, especially when it's just sort of down. I mean, when it's going up, everybody's feeling good. We're all happy, the market's humming along. And when it's just going down for just months and months, potentially years on end, it's just sort of depressing. So, what I wanted to show you though, so a couple things. So when you're looking at the rainbow chart, if you look at each cycle, it pretty much we have the halving, and then we have like a spike that occurs in the first half of the cycle. Okay, so in this cycle here, you could argue we had two spikes. In the next cycle, definitely we had one spike, okay, by about the midway point. Okay. Now, what's interesting in this last cycle is that we did have a rebound here towards the back end of the cycle. So, it bottomed out down here in the 3,000 range. Excuse me. And then it came back up here. Look at this. So it came back, 12,000 roughly, just shy of 13. So we hit 13. Nope, we didn't hit 13. We're right around 12. So it did come back from 3. So it did about a 4x from the bottom. Okay. Now, if you look at this cycle, what could be upcoming now? So, we're pretty much right around that halfway point. And, prior to what's transpired here, I'd say about a year ago, everybody kind of thought this cycle was going to be like the first one, the first major one here, because it really was kind of looking more like this. We had that early jump up, just like we had in this one. Everybody thought we were going to have a massive peak, just like this did right here. I mean, look at this. It went way outside the rainbow chart. I mean, this would probably be like 2 colors above. Okay. Everybody thought that could happen. And then lo and behold, what happens? It just sort of falls flat. And I think that's a result of all those various market forces. Also, what could be weighing on this as well is that there's a lot more adoption from institutional investors. Early on, this is like a retail driven run here. But this is maybe what it looks like with more institutions involved. Okay. So the question though becomes is where do we go from here? So if you looked at that first cycle, we basically just kind of bottomed out and stayed bottomed out for a good, 2-3 years pretty much. I mean, this is about a 3-year window from here all the way over to here is about a 3-year window. So that just bottomed out the whole way. Now, the next cycle here, we were at the bottom, but then we had this little rebound towards the end, and then it went down. Okay. And what's interesting, I think, an interesting observation is in this first cycle, really the highest it got was sort of that light blue. So the second color end of the rainbow. This second cycle here, look at this. So we went 4 colors into the rainbow. Okay. So who's to say that on our current cycle, we don't get a shot in the arm that takes us 6 colors into the rainbow, right? I mean, look at this. If we came up here, this would take Bitcoin over 100,000. Now, that's probably a tall order. So let's say that we just came into this yellow area, right? What if we came up here somewhere? Typically the way that crypto will work is everybody, when they will it to happen, it will happen. And when you get near sort of like round numbers, it may hit that round number and then it'll drop after that. And so I would not be shocked in the slightest if between now and the end of 2024, we hit 100,000 and then drop from there. I think that is highly likely that that could happen. So I see us having a rebound and pumping like that. Now, if you look at these early cycles again, you look at these time frames from, like, let's say here on the first one, what's that about? That is 12th of January 15 to, halfway in here. That's almost a year or so, 10 months, 9 months. If you look at this one here from where it bottomed, um, what's this? 12/5. So that's December 5th. And then it peaked right about, let's say right here, 7/12. So 7 months later. All right. So if you're looking at this current chart and we're bottoming out, and let's say we follow this current kind of bottoming pattern, who's thinking that maybe we rebound in anywhere from 7 to, let's say, 10 months from now? So it could just be we just go straight bear for pretty much, since we're already near the tail end of May. This would take us through all the way to 2023. So it may end up being that this is just a bear year period. It's just a bummer of a bear year this entire year. Now, all along I've been kind of hoping that we would have a rebound second quarter, and this just global disruption just is pushing everything down. The stock market has had I think it's like 8 straight weeks of red. First time in 100 years. I mean, it's just a really bad global marketplace at the moment. There's just no stability, and global markets really need stability. We need things to work. People got to feel good. We got to have good sentiment. People need to feel like they have extra money to spend to invest. Right now, people don't have extra money. This inflation thing is just sort of sapping the life out of everything. So I really, the more I look at this and the more I look at the charts, I really think that it could probably be, as much as I hate to say it, 2023 until we rebound. Because if we just keep going at the same rate, I mean, what, if anything, good do we have on the horizon? And the only real answer I have to that is that I mentioned this yesterday. At some point, Russia is going to run out of troops and equipment, and therefore they're going to have to make a decision what they're doing in this whole war thing. And if it's any point we can get an end to the war, then it's possible we could have a run really take off. That could be the match that lights the next run. All right. And it just depends on how long that could be. Now, I've seen estimates saying from now, obviously it's the end of May, it could be another 2-3 months till they're in that position. So you think, June, July, August, maybe September. So August, September, they're going to have to make a decision on what they're doing out there because, they just, it's unsustainable what they're doing right now, basically. And so could we have a run up 3 months from now? Maybe. That's possible. So you might have it, let's say at bottom 7, 8. So if we bottomed on that projection, look at this. So this is saying we'd be around 21, maybe 21.4. So we could be around 21.4, or we could be around 20. That's 29, or somewhere in between, right? 22. So, 22.5 ish, 23, somewhere in there, 22.5, 23. It could ultimately bottom out. So we could still be going down for the next easily 3-4 months of straight down red, but once we get that end to the war, that could be the match that lights the rebound, where I think it could spike easily into the 100,000 range, into this yellow bar. It'll be in 2023 when it happens, and then it's going to drop after that. And it's probably going to be down then, all the way a good year or so after the next halving, and then it'll blow up again. So when it blows up the next time, let's say, if you're looking at the peaks from before, so the first peak went basically it would be like two colors outside the rainbow. Second peak was the top red color. Our third peak was basically kind of the orange. So let's say our peak here could be around 270, 276, 285, 300,000 for a Bitcoin, and that would be 2025. So that definitely seems like that could be a really good possibility. I think that absolutely could happen. So the way I see this chart right now is I think that's sort of what we have in store. So my prediction on what's going to happen from this point forward is I think we're probably going to be bear at least into August, September. All right. After August, September, if we can get an end to that war, that could be the catalyst that sends us up for a rebound before this cycle ends. And we could end up peaking somewhere, April, May, May or March, somewhere in that time frame. Next spring, we could have a really good peak that could take us to $100,000 Bitcoin is kind of what I'm thinking. And then we're going to drop after that, right? Now, I also wanted to show you the current Bitcoin chart in TradingView just for, some awareness of where we're at here. I was following this on this trend back here, and for anybody who's a chartist, all they're looking for is patterns. That's it. We're just connecting lines, connecting dots, seeing if the pattern repeats. And in this pattern that we had going, excuse me, it was going pretty well, and then basically we had the Terra UST debacle that absolutely tanked everything, right? Tanked it pretty good, all the way down to here. So we went all the way down to here. Now we've got this current trend line that we're riding at the moment. Hopefully we can ride this up here and pass this this mark here. What's that about? We got about 30,700 or so is right around where that next resistance level is. But if not, if we stay bearish and we kind of break through this line, then we'll be down to the next time where we've got to establish a new upward pattern. The big thing in the Bitcoin chart, and this has been a trend pretty much for quite a while now, is just the colossal lack of volume. And anybody who's been a trader for any amount of time knows that in order for a stock, a crypto, for anything to run, there needs to be good volume to support it. And you can see if I kind of alter this a little bit right about there, if you're looking at the volume down here, I mean, look at these volume bars that came in on this big run up, right? Big time volume was moving all through here, all the way up. And as time's gone on, this volume has just trickled down to like a drip down here at the bottom, outside of the huge selling that occurred with Terra USD and Luna, obviously weighing in on some of this and how that kind of tore the market down right here. So we really haven't had any good green spikes in quite a while. I mean, there's been a few of them in here that showed up, and we thought, hey, maybe that's it. Maybe we're starting to turn around. We had a few really good ones up here, and I thought, oh shoot, is this it? Are we finally going to start moving? And then the whole, Terra Luna thing just kind of wrecked. It wrecked the market. It didn't just wreck everybody who was holding it, but wrecked the market. So who knows if we will be able to get out of this soon, or if we keep riding this downward pattern, like I said, into somewhere like September. So if you're looking here a little further out, if we ride this to August, September, it could take us all the way out into somewhere around here before we potentially get that catalyst that moves us upward. And I think that's when it's going to happen. So that's my prediction. I'm thinking, if we can get an end to that war, if we can get the Russian fleet out of the Black Sea, we get the grain moving around the world, we get inflation down. There's so many different factors right now. They're kind of putting everybody on edge. We just need some stability, and we've kind of moved towards the edge of the cliff, and we got to stop the car before we go off the cliff. Basically, is kind of where we're at. So those are my thoughts right now. So I want to wrap this one up in a second here with some final thoughts and bring this video on home. If you're enjoying today's video and want to learn more, make sure to visit our website at KIRfinance.com, your one-stop resource shop. Once you're at the site, the first thing to do is provide your email in order to be made aware of future announcements, including blog posts, products, and services. Next, check out the About Me section for a little bit about our mission and how we plan to pay it forward. We also have links to our social media, including Twitter and YouTube. Our brand new Patreon page was also just launched with the website, where users are offered various membership tiers for exclusive content and access. We even have a blog now where I plan to post daily financial articles. There's also a link to our merch shop where we've got KIR Finance product options for the whole family. Our affiliate links are posted for endorsed platforms. Just click the picture. NFTs are also available now at OpenSea.io. We have a financial education section, which includes my book on personal finance and soon-to-be course links. And lastly, if you'd simply like to leave a tip, you also have that option, and we'll mention your support in our next video. Thanks for watching, and now let's get back to the video. All right, so let's sum up some final thoughts for today's video. So the rainbow chart. I really like the rainbow chart. I mean, it's just a really good chart, and it's really easy to read. It's color-coded. Anybody could follow this, right? Now, I think what's become more apparent as time has gone on is maybe the arc of the rainbow isn't quite what we thought it was going to be with Bitcoin. But what's the most important thing in all of this is the Bitcoin baseline. So as long as that baseline goes up over time, that means the cryptocurrency market is going to go up as long as it is coupled with Bitcoin. Over time, as the market eventually decouples from Bitcoin at some point, hopefully that happens at some point, then it's a totally different story. But till then, the market is very tightly coupled, and whatever Bitcoin does, the market is going to follow, okay? So I think, in my prediction, I really do think that, we'll probably ride this trend kind of hemming along, not really doing a whole lot, maybe through the summer, maybe August, September. And if we can get an end to that conflict, then that could be the catalyst that sends us on the rebound run. Now, the rebound run, I think we could definitely hit 100,000 BTC, maybe go above it. Usually in crypto, whenever we're aiming for a target like that, it may just hit it and then it kind of drops, or it may hit it and just go above it and then it'll drop. When it drops, it's probably going to be bear again for another year or two plus, until after that next halving, and then that's when the market is really going to explode again, roughly 2025. So that's one thing that has been consistent throughout, is that if you look at all the different cycles, the cycles run the first half of the cycle. The second half, it kind of drops and it either goes down bear or we have a little bit of a rebound. In this particular cycle, I think we could have a pretty good rebound because we really never had those peaks in the first half of the cycle like everybody thought we would. So I think that's what's on the horizon. If that indeed is true, then that means we could have a pretty good run that takes us all the way into, let's say, springish, somewhere around there of next year, before the market then goes down, with that next halving on the horizon, and then we rebound roughly 2025. So anytime you're investing, if you're going to be a day trader, obviously this probably isn't the video for you. I myself am more of a DCA, low buys over a long period of time kind of guy. It's a lot easier to invest that way. It's a lot less stress. And we're definitely firmly in the accumulation/buy phase, and the rainbow chart indicates this. So if you take a look at that rainbow chart, these bottom areas where we're at right now, these are pretty good areas to be picking up currency if it's a good currency. Now, I have seen a lot of people talking about, I think it started with Dokwon talking about 95% of all currencies aren't going to make it through the bear cycle. There could be some truth in that, because if we go all the way bear, that turns into a pretty lean operation. Everybody working there is eating spaghetti and cereal all week long. We're talking ramen noodles. This is kind of like a big time dry spell. If you can survive, it definitely gets really good on the other side of the tunnel. So the projects that are set up well, that are funded well now, I think could do well. The ones that aren't, or the newer ones, they're really going to struggle, okay? So you really got to be looking at what you're investing in right now. And if you're investing in, any of the big time market cap coins, I think you'd be just fine, as well as some of the others that are out there. Obviously there's quite a few that I mention on this channel regularly that I think have a lot of potential, even through the bear market. So, something I'll be doing throughout will just be accumulating, but I am expecting us to have a rebound run in this cycle. I do think that's going to happen, all right? So it can't always be bad, negative economic news. At some point, we are going to have a turnaround, and it will happen. I remember in 2008 when everything bottomed out and everybody thought it was the end of the world, and then it rebounded really strong. So, everybody loves a comeback, and what goes down must come up. So I think that will happen. It looks like it could just take a little bit more time in this current market, all right? So if you enjoyed today's video, make sure to hit the like button. Don't forget that I am also on Twitter at KIR Finance, where you can find me tweeting and retweeting on a regular basis. Check me out there, give me a follow. And then lastly, as a friendly reminder, this is Jesse with Keeping It Real Finance, the channel that always has your back, tells it like it is, and I will see you on the next one. Later.